Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Warriors Walk-Off here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thanks for joining us. We'll start by talking Warriors softball with head coach Greg Jones. And thank you for being here today. I know that you're just getting back from Florida. You're going to be on the road fairly soon. So thank you for coming in to talk about your season, which is well underway so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having us again this year.
16 games already under your belt, but let's kind of go backwards. The beginning of this season kind of gets buried with the end of basketball season.
Correct.
So I want to kind of back up with you. When do you start getting ready for the season, and what's the first day of the season for you?
Well, it never really ends for us. The one break we truly get in the softball world is Christmas break. Okay. We don't do a lot at that point, but our kids are, we have a full fall season, then we have our off-season workouts leading up to Christmas break, and then we have that time where everybody kind of gets away from the game a little bit. But the first day of classes in January is our first day of practice. So as soon as we're back on campus, we're a full go.
All right, and what is the weather situation like at this point? Because obviously, if you start in January, that's when we first started getting a lot of the snow. I mean, it was nice for a long time. I think I saw you guys out around the lake getting some outdoor work in, and then all of a sudden the snow came. Yeah,
February has been brutal. So we've spent the entire preseason in the gym, and I mean, it is what it is. There's a, it's. You can look at it as an unfair advantage for the southern schools or a disadvantage for us, but ultimately at the end of the day you got to go play the game, and so we do the best we can with what we have. We're fortunate enough to at least have space there, and we've got cages downstairs and we can get our work in, but now as we come back and we've been playing outside and suddenly there's still snow on the ground and you're trying to figure out where to go. It is different. I always say it would be like basketball trying to get ready in a racquetball court, and there's nothing similar to our game on how we have to practice it to how we actually have to play it. But our kids are pretty resilient and pretty tough, so it works out.
All right, let's start from the beginning then, from this year, because last year you graduated 5 seniors. So what did the team look like to you coming back this season?
It's interesting because we have a lot of returners. We have a lot of kids back that played meaningful innings for us. For losing 5 starters and 5 really important seniors, we still had a lot back. But the complexion of the team is different every year, no matter what. You don't know where the leadership's going to come from, what the new kids are going to do, how people fit in roles, and if you make position changes, things of that nature. And I think the biggest void we knew we were going to face this year was the leadership void. There were 5 seniors that sat atop the food chain that were really the leaders of our team. But that's been answered. I think that it comes in different ways and different formulas from different kids, so it's been an adjustment for me because you're just so used to running a group out there, and you have to kind of tell yourself, okay, this is our team now, this is who we are, and you have to form a new identity every year, and some of that identity is the identity of the program, and you're always trying to push the program's identity, yet allow for each individual group to leave their own footprint and have their own identity as well.
Okay. Now I know that when we talk about preseason rankings and that sort of thing, coaches don't necessarily like to talk about that, but it's out there. And when the rankings and everything came out for the NSIC, you were at the top, preseason player of the year, preseason pitcher of the year. What goes through your mind when you see that sort of thing?
Well, my son is 13 years old, and he's a great fan of the sport and of our program, and he keeps me posted on all of that stuff, even though I tell him I don't want to know. And I would have been disappointed, I guess, if we didn't have that. We came off winning a conference championship, a conference tournament championship. We had the postseason player of the year and pitcher of the year, and they returned. And so the feeling was you knew that was going to be there, and if it wasn't, it was going to be a sign of disrespect. But at the same time, it doesn't matter, because what that does do is tells us that we did a good job last year, and it tells the story of the past, and so it was a sign of respect that people thought that much of us, but now we've got to go out earned this year to try to get that again for next year.
Okay. As I said, you have 16 games that are kind of under your belt right now, having gone to Florida and other places. Let's talk about your pitching. Jordan Clement, 6-0 to start, very good. What does your rotation look like this year? Do you have like a number 1, number 2, number 3? What does that look like for you this year?
Well, Joe's at the top, obviously, and has done a great job. And then after that, you know, probably Liz Potts and Alyssa Van Velde have been the next two. Alyssa's really taken a nice step forward this year as a junior. Liz is a transfer from UW Green Bay. They're kind of complete opposites of one another. Liz is more of a power arm, and Alyssa is more of a pitch to contact, keep the ball down, let our defense play behind her type of thing. They work really well together. They've relieved one another in both directions so far this year. They've both come in relief of Joe at times. I think we're a team this year, unlike last year, where we knew we had our two horses, and it was McKenna and Joe, or Joe and McKenna. It didn't matter which order they were going to throw the two games. I think now we're more of a team that's going to, you know, try to match up for the situation. And you know, Joe's going to get her game and her innings, but she could come out of the bullpen now as well. And I think game 2 is going to be more of a combination of arms. At this point, that's how I see it anyway. I don't know how that will play, but it worked. The one thing through our first 16 games that I've probably been the most pleased with is how our bullpen has worked. Not always our starting pitching, but whoever we've brought out of the bullpen has been really good. We've had some amazing relief appearances so far. Okay,
and then you're hitting. You have 4 players that are currently over 300. Lainey Van Zyl leading, 5'11", amazing start to the season. How are you hitting the ball right now?
I don't really like our offense just yet. I think that's a work in progress. I think the depth of our offense has to come. I think that we're getting on base. We're doing a good job. We have some kids, Katie and Kayla are doing a really good job of getting on base for us. We've got some thumpers in the middle that can drive in runs. I think on paper, numerically, we probably look pretty good. I think we've got to figure out some things depth-wise in our batting order yet to try to get some more production up and down and not be reliant on the same bodies all the time. But that'll come. It's early. We're just starting to face live pitching now on a consistent basis, and that's really the key. It's hard to work at 30 feet in a batting cage always because it's always easy to hit line drives in there. But now to see different paces and different tempos, people work in different ways. And so the more we're around the game that way, I think our offense will come around.
All right, we got about 30 seconds left in this segment. What's next for you? You're scheduled to go to St. Joseph, Missouri, but obviously that could change.
Yeah, we'll go to St. Joe now. Weather's supposed to be pretty decent down there. They're having some flooding, and so that's what's affecting the issues. One of the complexes that they use may be underwater. They've told us we'll go. It's just a matter of when and how many games we'll get in now. Instead of going down there and maybe getting 5 or 6, we might go down there and get 3 or 4, just because of how that'll be affected. The home opener is supposed to be a week from tomorrow. That's in serious jeopardy. Yes. When we left for Florida, there was 3 feet of snow on the ground. We came back and there's only like 6 or 8 inches. So we've made some progress, but we've got a ways to go on that front.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Warriors Walk-Off. When we come back, we'll get the player perspective with Lainey Van Zyl right after this.
Warriors Walk-Off on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by the WA Group.
Follow the national circuit of the Pro Watercross Tour each week on Pro Watercross. It's not your average day at the beach. Featuring the best professional and amateur power sport athletes from around the world competing on the most beautiful beaches and venues in the USA on some of the most challenging and technical race courses in the world. Check out the high-speed thrills of Pro Watercross on HBC TV 25.
Business Internet just reached the tipping point. Tip your hat to the information age. Get a gig for business and upload robust files, complex videos, and compound reports at the same time, in real time, while saving time. For DISA and data, get a gig. Got it? Now get going. Get up to 1 gig internet or upgrade to a Gigabiz Choice bundle with telephone to save even more. Call 888-474-9995 to get started today.
And welcome back to Warriors Walk-Off here on HBC TV 25. Time now to talk to Lainey Van Zyl and the seniors this year on the team.
Finally.
Yeah, I love that. I want to ask you first, we saw you preseason at the basketball games, and then we see the news about you being a preseason player of the year, and then we see a tweet with a picture of you with a bandage on your knee and an injury. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
Yeah, that was kind of a quick process. Just got injured during practice, and because of my personality, I'm a little stubborn, and I was convinced it wasn't anything, and from the better advice of the people in my corner, urged me to get it checked out. I ended up having a torn meniscus, which required surgery, but it was a pretty quick turnaround. They kind of predicted that I'd be out anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, and thankfully I was able to kind of push ahead on that and got back I missed, I think, the first 2 games, and then was back by our Rosemont tournament. So, it was a struggle, but at the same time, I was really blessed for how quickly it turned around and how normal I felt playing when I got back.
So how did you get back so quickly, and how did you know that you were okay to go?
I don't know if I'd ever say I knew for sure I was okay to go, but as we've talked about before on the show, I had an ACL injury in high school, and so I felt like I knew my body pretty well, and I've always been able to kind of push myself and see what my body's going to let me do. And so I, with the training staff and with the coaches, was able to push myself and see what I could do potentially by the first game. And I wasn't quite ready to go for the first 2 games. So took those 2 games off, and which wasn't really what I wanted to do, but probably the smart choice. And was ready to go by Rosemont, so that was really nice.
Well, your tweet did say, "Don't count you out just
yet."
So
no, definitely
you were
not.
True on that.
Never do that.
I got to ask your coach, what did you think when you heard that she had to have surgery? Obviously, meniscus isn't quite as bad as anything else with the knee, but what were your thoughts early on?
Well, from the moment it happened, the gym kind of fell quiet when she went down, and first thing you think about with a knee injury is the ACL, so we were very fortunate it was what it was, and we're also fortunate that we had a kid who just decided she wasn't going to sit back and just be back when they said she was going to be back. She was going to get herself ready to go. And so, the challenge was trying to protect her from herself a little bit, yet not rein her back and let her do the rehab and let her push and get ready to go. But she was so self-motivated. It was really kind of hands off and let her go, and we'll see when she's ready to rock.
All right. I have to ask you about the awards now, just like I talked to Coach Jones. Right. As he said, postseason player of the year, preseason player of the year. What does that mean to you at this point in your life, in your career?
It's really humbling. That would be like the greatest word to describe it. It's something that I never, in the big picture of my career, never really thought like that's something that I would strive for. It's kind of one of those side effects of just putting my head down and trying to get better and trying to make my teammates better. And definitely wouldn't be one of those things that I would count as just my accomplishment. My teammates, the surrounding batting order that I'm in the middle of, like, that's definitely a big piece of it. I never feel like there's a lot of pressure on me to do anything, which I know can probably be the idea behind Player of the Year. I never feel that way. I always know that whether I do my job or if I don't do my job, that somebody else is going to pick me up, and that has definitely allowed me to play how I've been able to play and get those awards, I guess.
Well, it's shown through in the stats that you put up in the first few games of the season. As you said, 5'11" hitting. Right. Is that something is a vision for you, being able to see the pitches come in? Is it anticipating what somebody's going to throw to you? What is that for you?
Honestly, it's more just knowing what I'm looking for. A lot of times I go up there and just try to have a clear mind, and if it's a good pitch in the first pitch, I'm probably going to swing at it. But it's never we always talk about on our team, it's always a get-to mentality, and every time I go up, that's how I feel is, all right, well, if they throw it in there, I'm going to be able to hit it. So that's usually how I go up and approach an at-bat.
All right, last minute that we have here, the weather situation and what might face you as you go to St. Joseph and maybe not being able to play quite yet on your home field.
Right.
What does that feel like for you? I know that senior, so you've done this a number of times. What does that feel like now?
Honestly, I don't really think about it. I just, it's similar to when people ask me like who we play. I usually don't know, which is what it is. But we're going to play when we play, and we're going to be ready when we do it. So just looking forward to the next opportunity to compete.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us here. I'm sure we'll see both of you later on this season.
For sure. Thank you for having us.
And good luck in your next road trip.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a break here on Warriors Walk Off. When we come back, we'll talk baseball with head coach Kyle Polk. That's right after this.
Warriors Walk Off on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by the WA Group.
Now's the time to unleash the internet. With HBC, you can get internet speeds up to 1 gig. It's the speed you need for the ultimate internet experience. Connect all of your devices, including tablets, game consoles, smartphones, computers, smart speakers, and more. Upload and share photos and videos instantly. Stream HD movies in a flash. And experience online gaming like never before. Call HBC today at 888-474-9995 to get started.
And welcome back to Warriors Walk Off. Now talking baseball with head coach Kyle Polk. And I'll lead off with the first question that I asked Coach Jones in the softball segment, which is about when you start thinking about the season and when the first day of the season is for you, because Coach Jones said it's pretty much all year round nowadays. So for you, for baseball, when is the first day for baseball season?
Well, like, same as him. It's round. It's year round for us for baseball, because the funny thing is, after our last game every year, people go, "What are you going to do now all summer?" And I go, "Well, I'll pull out my calendar and show them. I got 4 days a week, and almost every weekend all summer is booked with recruiting, going out and seeing players, trying to get our next recruiting class shored up. And then once we get to school starts, we start right the first week of school, and we're in it, and that's so it's basically year round. We're start thinking about this the last week of August and September and through fall ball. We get a couple weeks off over Christmas, but then beginning of January, we're at it again. So it's, for us as coaches, it's year-round. The players, maybe a little bit of break depending on what they do in the summer. Some guys want to continue to play over the summer. Some guys need a break, and so we leave that up to them. But at the college level, it's year-round.
So when the school year comes around again, knowing what you've known about how the weather has been the last few years, do you try to get a lot of work in the fall and try to get things going a little bit?
Well, we do, because we've changed our formats over the year. Basically, we don't do tryouts anymore, so when we walk in day one, our squad is picked. We know who we got, so then we can start really zeroing in on defensive situations and drilling, doing all that stuff. Teach it all to the new guys in the fall, and then once we get done with fall ball, when we come back indoors in January, we don't have to teach anything. We just review and then sharpen our skills and that type of thing. Indoors, which, you know, ideally we'd rather be outdoors, but we're not. We're indoors, so it's not a lot of teaching at that point. It's just reviewing and redoing and getting repetition, so when our first game comes, we're ready to go.
All right, you're already in conference play, and we'll go backwards in just a minute, but let's talk about the opening poll for the NSIC. What does the conference look like this year? You're picked about where you finished last year.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, and I tell people all the time, I never look at any preseason polls because nobody's played anything yet, so you don't know. They just go on what's happened last year. So I think, Augie, defending national champ, is going to be tough. Mankato's always good. St. Cloud's good. And then we should be in the next tier of teams that are fighting with them and battling with them. So that's our goal, is to get in those top 4 spots and qualify for the conference tournament. You got to be in the top 8 for conference tournament, but we want to be the top 4 going into the conference tournament.
Well, you made the conference tournament last year for the first time in a couple of years. What's the outlook for this year?
Well, you keep your fingers crossed, but it should be good, because those guys that are playing last year are all freshmen, sophomores, basically. So those guys are a year older. Their pitching staff is all back from last year, guys that we used. So if you're a betting man or whatever, which you can't, because NCAA says you can't do that, so we don't bet. But if you were, we should have a good shot at making it.
All right, you talked about knowing who the team is on day one, and you only had to replace a couple seniors from last year's squad. So does that make it easier or harder in the offseason when you only have a couple of spots to fill?
Well, no, because yes and no. The big thing is, are we making sure that we're getting the right kid to replace what we lose? We always try to add a couple more than what we lose. If we lose 4, we try to look at 5 or 6, because there's always going to be a player or whatever who decides academic reason or something, he's not going to stay with us or whatever, which we very rarely have somebody transfer out of our program and go play somewhere else. It's more of academic stuff or whatever. But it does it does make things a whole lot easier, because we know exactly what we're looking for when we're recruiting.
All right, let's talk about the first couple games of this year. You started out, again, weather-wise, even away from Winona. You had some games that were canceled early on. Talk about that first series.
Yeah, the first one down at Pittsburgh, Kansas. It's funny, because the coach there is a new coach that I've known for years. He was at Emporia, and we've already talked about playing, and we could never get anything set up, and then the guy, former coach at Pitt, who set this up with us, he decides to retire, and then Bob Fornelli gets hired, and so hey, we finally get to play each other. But it was supposed to be a 4-game set, but we only got 2. Again, unfortunately, the cold, that polar winter vortex, whatever they called, hit down there as well, and the temperatures were in the only 20s the 2 days. So we got a doubleheader in the 1 day, and we split with them, which they were a regional team last year, and they had a lot of guys back, and so that was a good start for us.
Okay, and then let's talk a little bit then about the Florida trip, because you played a lot of nationally known teams in that tournament. How did you do in Florida?
We were 3-3, and we did good. We won our first 3 games, and then the last 3 games against Westchester was national champ 2 years ago. Wayne State, Michigan's always a top team in that Midwest region. Then Florida Tech, who's one of the top teams in Florida regional there. So those are 3 really good quality teams for us to play. Find out where we're at. We lost all 3 games, but I thought we played really well. Just a hit here or there, maybe we get a couple runs when we're in those games and have a chance to win them at the end. But that's one of the things I do when I go down there. I like to play against the quality top. I want to play against teams that are there that have been in the regionals or been in the World Series and tell us what it is. So that gives us a good indication where we're at, what we need to do to get better. And
in the first couple games of the year, you're kind of never really out of games. You've had some comeback wins this season already. Talk about that in the Brazilian scene.
Yeah, and that's all part of our guys being a lot of guys playing last year, being young. And some of those games we would have lost last year, but this year they're a year older and they understand that they can play. They are college baseball players now, and there's always a chance until the last out. And them guys really sticking with it and continuing to have good at-bats late in the game and giving us a chance to score.
We've talked over the years about the different pitching rotations that you've had. You have a lot of pitchers because it's a long season. Obviously, arms get sore. How does the rotation set up this year?
Well, one thing with our conference, we went from 6 games in a week to 5. So now we're looking at 5 stars rather than 6, so that gets 1 guy in the bullpen. We're pretty well set, I think, right now with our top 4. We know who those are: Aaron Mutter, Caleb Shaneholtz, Dylan Whitaker, and Austin Savory. And then the 5-6 guys are going to be between Kyle Gendron and Brett Herber with that. And then our bullpen, we got 4 good arms in the back of the bullpen with Tanner Hazley, although his last one he didn't do that well, but he's going to be a good guy in the middle. And then we got Jacob Watzka, Parker Holmstrom, and Nick Harold at the back end. So we're sitting, I think this is probably, and I don't want to jinx myself, but as good a pitching depth that we've had since 2011, and 11 was the year we went to the series.
All right, and then talk a little bit about offense here in the last couple of minutes. Obviously, Sam Conley, one of the returners from last year, one of the top hitters. How are you looking on offense?
Yeah, offensively, we got to get a couple guys going. We got a couple guys like Derek Martin was an all-conference shortstop for hitting, and he's playing great shortstop. He just needs to get his bat going a little bit, but he's leading us in RBI, so he's getting the key hits when needed. CS Sam has been our leading hitter the last 2 years, and he's leading us again at this point. We got a few young guys that are stepping up and doing a pretty good job with us right now. And it's all the games we've won, it's always been somebody different too. It's not that we have to have these guys have to hit. You know, we've had different guys get game-winning hits, different guys pick up RBIs and stuff in key situations. So I like what we're doing right now, and I'm really excited once we can start playing here so we can get the hometown people come and see what we got.
So what is next for Warrior Baseball?
Well, we're going tomorrow to Mawson, Wisconsin. They got an all-turf complex over there called Woodside Sports Complex. They got 4 turf fields there. We're going to be playing there tomorrow against St. Cloud. And as a matter of fact, Mankato's coming and playing Southwest State there. And then on the weekend, we're there with Southwest State on Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully by that time, stuff starts working here. Mother Nature gets going, and we're supposed to be at home next Wednesday against Minot, which that might be iffy. And then after that, I'm thinking the weekend, we're supposed to go to Crookston the last weekend of March, but their coach just texted, said they're probably not going to be there. So I'm thinking hopefully we'll be ready by that next weekend.
You're going to have to be out there shoveling the field again?
Well, if it comes, we will, but I don't like to do that because it can cause other issues. And there's no place to really put the snow right now. You can put it in foul territory or whatever, but I'd really like to just let Mother Nature do the job first, and then if we have to clean up some things, we'll do that.
All right, well, hopefully you'll get on the field fairly soon.
Yes, keep your fingers crossed.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Warriors Walk Off. Sam Conley will join us right after this.
Warriors Walk Off on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by the WA Group.
What's a Southern girl? It's waking up before the sun rises. It's loving the simple things in life, like the dirt roads that lead you home. It's working hard to get what you want. It's hanging your own stands, breaking your own ground, and strategizing every little move for that one moment when everything you've worked for is standing right in front of you. Even if I fail a million times, I keep pushing myself till I'm exhausted, filthy, and about to give up. And that's when the adrenaline hits.
And welcome back to Warriors Walk-Off. We're here with Sam Conley now, and thanks for coming back this year. Let's talk a little bit about how you started out the season. Leading hitter right now at 438. How have things been going for you this year?
Definitely, it's been a good start to the year. I've been getting a good amount of success, so I can't complain about that. But a lot of luck involved with that too. I know Coach Polk says when it comes to hitting, your job is always square up a baseball, and you know sometimes you can square up a baseball, hit it right at someone and get an out, and sometimes you can get jam and get a base hit. So I mean, it just comes down to luck at that point. And fortunately, I've been finding some holes, and hopefully it keeps going for a little bit now.
All right, talk about starting out the season on the road in Florida and Kansas and different places that you've been. How difficult is that to have to go somewhere else, balance all your schoolwork along with that? I mean, some of it is on break time, but how does that work for you?
Definitely, you just got to prioritize. I mean, especially with school, you know, you just work with your professors and just control what you control. Obviously, you know, with the weather, we can't control where we play, but you know, if you get your schoolwork done ahead of time, then you can just focus on baseball. So yeah, obviously prioritize and yeah, hopefully figure it out.
All right. Last year when you were on the show, we talked about your patience at the plate, and that was one of the things that Coach Polk noticed about you when he was recruiting you. You said that you had to change just a little bit about how you were when you came into college, but now it looks like that patience is back. You had 17 walks last year, 9 already to start the season this year. Talk about that and how maybe that's come back into your repertoire for hitting.
Well, it helps in my position right now. The guys hitting in front of me and behind me are swinging it so well. I have Tanner Willems in front of me and Austin Savory behind me. So usually I'll always get a good pitch to hit, and if not, I'll just take a walk. So my job right now is just to see good strikes and put a good swing on them. So that's a lot of help for the guys in the lineup around me too. Comes down to that.
All right.
Yeah, and it's something that we preach that. We talk all the time. We still got a couple guys that get themselves out a little bit too much, but Sam doesn't get himself out. If it's an out, they earn it by getting them out. But try to preach it. Every at bat, you're going to get one pitcher's going to make a mistake in an at bat, and if you can wait out and get that pitch and put a good swing on it, you're going to have some good things happen. All
right. I did a little research on you coming into today, so we'd had a couple different questions to ask you. This is a little bit older material that I saw from when you were in high school, and they had a profile on you. You had some superstitions in high school, and obviously that's in the game of baseball all over. Does those carry over to college?
Yeah, if you ask anyone in our program, I do have a lot of things that I do. A lot of people call it my routine. You know, I definitely have a certain system that I do things when I come to the ball field every day. And, you know, I just try to keep in that routine, and hopefully, you know, it just equates to success, but I don't know if that really does. But, you know,
well, it's working good now.
You know, I do a lot of weird things. A lot of guys give me a lot of crap for it, but, you know, it's just how I am, I guess. It's hard to change.
What's your pre-plate appearance routine then coming up?
So I'll double tap my helmet twice. I'll take a look at the barrel of the bat, and I'll just take a big deep breath, and then I'll just take my sign and step into the box. And every bat I do that, usually every pitch. So.
Yeah, but you got to get before you get there, because if he picks up the bat from the previous hitter, he doesn't hand it to the guy. He always drops it at their feet.
Yeah, I don't believe in catching bats. That's another thing. My high school coach told me one time someone broke their hand catching a bat, so I never catch bats anymore for some reason. I always just hand them off or usually drop it. So yeah.
Okay. Are there a lot of superstitions then on the team? Does everybody have their own thing?
I'm not aware of them because I was never a superstition. I just played and stuff. And when I coach and just coaching, I don't have time. But there's some. We've had guys over the past that want to do things just a certain way all the time. And I don't know if it's superstition or if it's just their routine that they get into and they like to have and just be comfortable. And that maybe I like to say it's getting comfortable more than a superstition.
I'm more like a creature of habit kind of thing. I just got to repeat stuff kind of. So, yeah.
All right, and then last question, from superstitions to superheroes. You were a big superhero fan in high school. Does that carry over to college?
Yeah, so yeah, I still watch every superhero movie that comes out. I'll watch it. Usually a couple guys on the team are into them too, like Kyle Kazubuki. I'll watch with him, you know, all the movies. But yeah, you know, Batman, Superman, all those. I love watching those. Kind of a superhero nerd, I guess you could say.
All right, and the Spider-Man one that just came out?
Yep, I'll be watching that, so don't worry.
All right, very good. Okay, well, thank you for joining us
I'd
here.
like to just have him called Batman because of the way he hits, so that would be him.
I like that. Maybe a new nickname here.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it goes.
Well, thank you for joining us here today, and good luck this coming up, I guess, tomorrow when you're back on the field.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here on Warriors Walk-Off. We'll see you next time here on HBC TV 25.